Hey everyone, my name is Ben Chaish, and today we are going to continue in a bit of a challenge that I've made for myself. I've been a wedding photographer for almost 15 years now, and I'm just kind of a big camera nerd, and so I gave myself a weird little challenge of trying to create a bunch of different wedding kits within different camera brand systems for about $10,000 or under. Now that being said, there are a ton of other things beyond what we're going to cover here today that you're going to need for your kit. But today we are specifically just going to be focusing on a 2-body 3-lens system that will kind of be the baseline for most wedding photographers. And today we are going to be hitting up Sony. Sony has been dominating the mirrorless game for long before the rest of everyone else finally jumped on that train. And they make some pretty good offerings that a lot of my peers have been switching to in the last few years. I forgot to actually mention this, but I would love to see your picks as well. So either at the end of this video, after you've seen what I'm looking at, or you can do it right now. Go and do this challenge on your own, and I would love to see what your kit would be. So drop that in the comments below, and then I'm gonna do another video sort of highlighting the best kits and maybe even improving mine by adding yours. And I definitely don't have a giveaway or anything for you, but I think this would be super interesting, and kind of whatever our finalized kits will be, we'll put up next to each other in a kind of final video. And if you are a fanboy or girl or whatever of any specific brand, making the best possible kit would be great, because we're gonna put them all together in one sort of finalized video and see what we would consider the best value overall to be between all of the brands. I'm just doing this based off of what I'm currently looking at right now. So if prices are different, you can definitely check that out. And I mean, I guess if you really wanted to, you could kind of cheat this video and just look at the description, and then you'd see what I'm thinking about. But then you wouldn't hear all my thoughts. So what fun would that be? And while this video isn't sponsored, everything that I will go over today will be linked down in the description below. So you can check it out on Amazon and B&H and Moment and all that kind of stuff. And then I also wanted to take a quick second to plug my Patreon. I do multiple videos like this a month that are much more tutorial based and aimed at improving your photography, and usually much less about gear. But I'll definitely leave a link in the description about that, as well as my Cascade presets. If you are looking for a great preset pack that works on just about every camera manufacturer there is, I'll obviously leave a link to those in the description and would be happy to answer any questions you might have about them. So in our 2-body 3-lens system, again, this is kind of a minimum, I feel like, to be a responsible wedding photographer. Having more gear is definitely can be helpful, but I'm gonna be focusing on a few kind of prerequisites. The first of which in the bodies is going to be that they have dual card slots. Thankfully, a lot of Sony cameras actually do, but we're definitely going to be looking at the Alpha line. The A1 and the A9s are just a little bit out of our price range to kind of fit in here. The A7S III, fantastic camera, especially for video, obviously, but it doesn't fit the megapixel count that we're gonna need to go in this system. So I basically narrowed it down to the A7 III and the A7 IV. And I wanna be clear that you could definitely go with either of these and have no issue. Personally, if I'm jumping in and I'm gonna spend the money to upgrade cameras, I'm just going to go with the one that is a little bit better, a little bit more updated. So I'm personally going to go with the A7 IV, but know that with all of these, there are variances and you could definitely go in a different direction, and it doesn't mean that you would be making a wrong decision. It's just the thing that I am deciding to go with today, right? So with the A7 IV, you're getting like 33 megapixels, in-body image stabilization, a little bit better autofocus. And one of the things that I just have always really hated about the Sony cameras is their old menu system. You're getting the newer upgraded memory system from the A7 III body. And so there's a lot of ways to go about that. Now, in doing so, you're spending about $2,500 instead of the $2,000 per body that you'd be doing with the A7 III. So if you wanted to go the A7 III route and spend that extra $1,000 on glass, definitely another great route to go. But just for a little bit of future proofing and stuff, I feel like the A74 is still mostly gonna fit into our budget and probably be the better play long term. Now moving on from the camera bodies themselves, again, we're buying 2 of the cameras and 3 lenses. We are gonna go with a wide angle, and for me, a wide angle in a wedding photography setting in a 3 lens kit is most likely going to be a 24, a 28, or a 35. Anything wider than 24 is gonna feel a little bit too distorted, a little too wide. It's gonna be tough to get people feeling natural in the frame. Even 35 is a little bit tight to really capture the feeling of a lot of the larger spaces and things like that you were going to be running into. So with Sony, you are both getting pretty affordable cameras for what they are in comparison to some of the other manufacturers' offerings, and their lenses are relatively inexpensive in comparison to what Canon's putting out there, and obviously what places people like Leica are putting out. Now, the Sony G Master 24 and 35 are actually both $1398 currently. If you prefer the 35, they're the same price and they both fit in that same category. Either lens would definitely work. And again, same price, all that kind of stuff. But for versatility, for me, I'm going to go with the 24 1.4 G Master. Fantastic lens. You're getting native glass. Kind of a win-win. When I'm thinking about a standard lens, it's basically like a 50, 55, 58, somewhere in that like 50 to 60 range. And thankfully, again, Sony has a 50 1.2 G Master lens. Great for portraits, great for details. The 50mm is just the most recognizable look, I feel like, in all of photography. And so it pairs really, really well with the 24. So you can go in that direction if you wanted to kind of make your kit a 24-50. Or again, it just pairs really well with basically anything as a standard lens that will do really good for environmental stuff, portraits, details, wedding blogs, and publications really love stuff from the 50. So it's a pretty easy choice, in my opinion, to go with the 50 1.2 G Master as well. Then finally, for our telephoto setup, that is going to be, maybe 75 at the low end, but more typically 85, 90, 105, 135. And then anything beyond that, and even 135 is a little bit tight. I've definitely used all of those different focal lengths at different times. I even owned a 200 prime at one point. I think for general versatility and things that I'm doing more often, these lenses are great for speeches at receptions, for kind of getting a little bit closer during dances, for vows, for just all that kind of stuff. And they're your more traditional portrait length. And so for this, I feel like 85 is just the best all-around lens for that setup. It's not too tight that you're going to be stuck. But if you're doing a lot of church weddings or stuff where you can't get close enough, then yeah, maybe you want to do a 105 or 135. But for me and the stuff that I'm often photographing, I find that 85 just works really, really well. And again, Sony makes a G Master lens in a relatively inexpensive category. So we will go with the Sony 85 1.4 G Master. So overall, I feel like this is a great kit. So you're getting obviously 2 A74s. It's brand new. It's not even out yet. I don't even think they're shipping until the end of December. But if I'm looking into 2022 and going for what I'm going to be using next year, obviously having the newest setup from Sony is going to be a great place to start. And then we're hitting up the 24 1.4 for our wide angle. We're hitting up the 50 1.2 for our standard lens, and then the 85 1.4 for our telephoto. All of them are within Sony's G Master lens setup. They're all native lenses, which I can definitely not say about every other setup that I'm making in this series. So you're looking pretty good there. So anyway, what'd you think? I feel like this is a great kit. There are, again, a ton of directions you could go in. But if you have suggestions of lenses and things within the system that are kind of like a must-have, maybe you think that this kit isn't complete enough, or you want to give your particular take, feel free to leave those comments down below. Honestly, I feel like a lot of people who might be looking into this for weddings and elopements and things like that specifically would probably love to hear, you know, real world takes on all this stuff, and not just some big camera nerd that doesn't actually shoot Sony all the time professionally, and what he thinks would be a good kit. And if you're interested in more videos like this, this is just one part of a series that I'm doing with Sony, Canon, Leica, and Fujifilm, putting together similar kits and just kind of seeing what your money can get within those for around $10,000. So if you appreciated this video, give it a like down below. That would definitely help the channel. Subscribe if you aren't already. And then why don't you jump into one of these videos right here? Maybe this one or that one. One of those would probably be good. Yeah. Cool. See you on the next one.